Over the weekend, America had yet another attempted mass shooting, a tragedy in its own right, despite the fact that it was very quickly stopped. This happened in Houston at the Megachurch of Joel Osteen. I'm sure you've heard about this, but we want to dive into the actual details. So this is a 30 to 35-year-old woman. Some of the details are still being revealed literally as we were going live, who entered the church wearing a trench coat, apparently holding some sort of long gun, some sort of rifle, and accompanied by a toddler. She entered the church and opened fire. Now, as she began firing, two off-duty law enforcement officers, one a Houston cop and the other a federal officer, engaged the suspect, shooting and killing her. The child was also struck and is in critical condition. There had been questions asked about who exactly it was that shot the child. Was it those trying to take down the attempted shooter or the woman herself? Houston Police Chief Troy Finner said he had no idea right now who it was that shot the child, saying she fired. We don't know, and I don't want to speculate on that. I will say this: if it was, unfortunately, he kind of stopped himself. And that female, the suspect, put that baby in danger. I'm going to put that blame on her. Look, obviously it's complex. You have a lot of people packed at a very small amount of room. You have the fear that she could kill a lot of people, and so they attempted to take her down. And thankfully, in this case, the two people who, in this case, I guess are the good guys with guns in this example, were trained. They're either cops or federal officers. Thankfully, you did not have a lot more people suddenly whip out guns and start randomly shooting, because God only knows what could have happened as a result of that. In this case, the child was hit. It seems conceivable that it was the officers who shot the child. We can debate whether that's reasonable considering this situation. And the most recent added fact about this that I saw before going live is, according to ABC News, supposedly on the woman's gun, the words "Free Palestine" were there. Now, what exactly that has to do with Joel Osteen's megachurch, I don't know. I don't know if that's considered to have been confirmed, but ABC News had a story about it this morning. Anyway, Francesca, there's a lot going on, but what do you think?
This is incredibly, there's a lot more to this story we don't know. This is incredibly fishy and weird. I'm obvious, like, yeah. I don't know a lot about Joel Osteen. I know he's a prosperity gospel preacher, has a megachurch. Once again, another day in America and another target. Churches have often been targets. It is interesting that this is a woman. It's interesting that potentially that is rare, and it's interesting that there could have been a message about Palestine written on their gun, and also, it seems fishy to me. I'm sorry, like, it just seems bizarre to me. And I say that because I've worked with, activists who've worked around, Palestinian human rights issues for decades. And they and we are not violent people. It's not how we roll, right? It is about nonviolent protests. It's about sit-ins and die-ins. It is about divestment, boycott, sanctions, all of that stuff. So I don't know, John. I am scratching my head, and I'm glad that the boys survived, and I'm glad that, I guess, she wasn't able to actually kill anyone but injure people.
Yeah, look, obviously, you learn more outside of just the first 24 or so hours of a story like this. We don't know. That's why I try to gather as much as has been reported. I don't know to what extent we can consider these facts to be confirmed at this point. I don't know. Assuming that those facts are true, I don't know what the connection would be. I don't know. It seems to make about as much sense to write "Free Palestine" and then go attack an evangelical megachurch as it would to say, I don't know, stop the carbon tax. Like, I don't understand what that has to do with anything.
Right.
Look, obviously, if a political message is scrawled on a weapon, it is going to draw attention, and it should. It seems like that would be a part of it. In this case, look, this person goes, a woman, again, not a lot of mass shooters tend to be women. She goes to a church, which, as you say, do get targeted, and it's super weird that conservatives don't care more about gun control, considering how often churches do get shot up in this way. But then to bring a child with her, obviously there's something going on mentally there. I think we all understand that. Now, that does not mean that some sort of political motivation, even if completely illogical, isn't worthy of analysis. But let's just bear that in mind, that there's some contextual stuff here that does make it seem a little bit weird. That said, we've reported everything that we do know about this point. Thankfully, it was stopped. It could have been a far worse tragedy. When you have a church like that, as Joel Osteen points out, some of the services have 45,000 people over the course of a few of their gatherings. So thankfully, she was stopped. Thankfully, you did not have more chaos erupting from more people pulling out guns, and we'll wait to see as more details come out. Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.